Something is broken.
All right, welcome to the 139th episode of Currency. This is the fourth one that I've done from the Crescent Lounge. Number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's have some more.
Yes. Let's have a thumb war. Let's have an arm war, arm wrestling as well.
No ears.
No ears? Let's have an ear war.
No, thank you.
Whoever has the most wins. Most people have 2.
Uh-oh.
It was a tie.
Jumps down one or X one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that must be why that I brought it up. It's just Trump. See you, man.
I'm Van Gogh, not Van Gogh. I'm Van Gogh.
I love that.
Oh my God.
Good to see you.
Yes, you too.
You have a good one.
Bye. We'll see. Agree.
4-wheel cars are really great. One 4-wheel vehicle that I don't like are Kias. Like, I don't know why. For some reason, I have like car racism against Kias.
But doesn't their logo look like 9 Inch Nails a little bit?
Does it? Like their new logo?
The Kia emblem on the hood? Every
Yeah,
time
if
I
you're
see it, it
sure.
looks like 9 Inch Nails.
Kia just has a logo where they spell out the name of their company as their logo. I have the Crescent Lounge logo and name in the podcast frame now.
Ooh,
Yeah, how about that? So I moved it far enough back.
look at you.
Yes, since I know that that's what you would have wanted. But what is this 130? This is 139th episode, and I uploaded all of the 3 previous to this, which I'm excited about. Excited to continue going. I have racism against Kias. I feel like I see things that are like I discriminate against Kias. I go out of my way to hate on them more than other cars. Or if something bad is happening, I will address it and be like, oh shit, of course it was a Kia, if it was a Kia. But if it wasn't, then I might ignore it. But I found out recently that Kias are really easy to steal. Like there's a group called the Kia Boys, and
Sexism!
there needs to be more representation. There needs to be the Kia girls as well. Because the Kia Boys, their whole initiation for being in the group is that they steal Kias, and that's what makes them the Kia Boys. But we need some Kia girls stealing some Kias as well, so that we can be a better world, where everybody thieves.
It's not that hard to hotwire a car.
I know. It's really like a lot of cars are easy to steal, and maybe people just aren't figuring that out enough, or it's probably good that they haven't to this point. Maybe society will just deteriorate worse and worse with more information. So you get information that a lot of cars can be hot-wired, then you spread that information around. There might be like the spread of bad information. I guess it hasn't done too much to us thus far, but I guess Kias are really easy to steal, and so this group of people came about. Or it's a really cool group to be in right now, or a way that you can make a name for yourself right now. Identify yourself as being the Kia Boys, but there really should be the Kia Girls, or the Kia
Transgenders.
yeah, the Kia Transgenders and the Kia everything. So that all different walks of life, Kia politicians, even that, the Kia Jews, even those. So that we even have, Jews that break the law. That's a good thing to have. But I guess comment on. Let me see if I'm done talking about Kias and the Kia Boys. It's just that It's too bad. I can't really hate on Kias anymore. I almost like them more now that I know that they're easy to steal. Because, I don't know. It's just, now anybody can hate on them. I mean, it's just being exploited why you would hate them. Is that it's not a good car to buy because it's like one of the easiest to steal, apparently. You just break out the back window, and then, I don't know all of the steps to becoming a Kia boy, but you break out the Kia back window, and then you waltz on into that Kia, and whatever it is, you do something with the ignition that it's easier to steal a Kia than other ones. But what I don't know is why don't, since we know this, why don't we all just go in mass herds to Kia dealerships and just start stealing them? I don't know what's preventing us from doing that. There should be more transgenders stealing Kias. They've already, at least they got a letter added to the LGBTQ, I guess a long while ago. They're one of the original letters. I think that we should add an H to the LGBTQ, which also I think has an I and an A. It's really unstoppable, the amount of letters they're adding. I think that they should also add an H for homophobic. Why exclude those folks from the LGBTQ community? Get the homophobes in there. And then also we should add an S for sorta. Sorta, we can't exclude those folks, and then add a J for Jew, and keep going until you add letters from keep going until you have a letter for all of the letters in the alphabet, and basically it'll probably get to that point regardless where we add all of the letters for some group of people that's part of the LGBTQ, and then we'll just end up with a gay alphabet, which will be the same as, it'll have all the letters as the other alphabet, it'll just be rearranged in a gay way. So look forward to the gay alphabet, of course. Donald Trump got shot. What lessons can we learn? I mean, he got grazed by a bullet in the ear. What does that mean? It means that any person can, that's the appeal of trying to be an assassinator, is that you can be the lowest person ever and then get fame or whatever. Even the guy that shot at him gets a lot of fame, even though he missed. But you look at the Secret Service, look at them and what they did during that event, and everybody is like, oh, how could the Secret Service be so shitty? And I think that it's because they're a government entity, and they are therefore kind of already incapable of doing a good job because they are funded by the government. I mean, I wouldn't trust the Secret Service the same way I wouldn't really trust the FBI or the CIA at this point. But it's like, it's not like the Secret Service isn't necessarily going to do a good job in the situation because they've literally faced like thousands of this same situation without anything happening, so they really don't think anything's going to happen. So they're really, you could say, oh, they're the Secret Service. They should be prepared or whatever. But they're not prepared for when there's actually a shooting. They really have no experience with that. So I don't know why you would think they would be really good at it all of a sudden. That doesn't happen just because they have the title Secret Service. It's not like they've done a lot of, and they can't defend a bullet as it's shot. I mean, I guess they should have seen the guy or whatever. I don't know what happened. But I like that the people try to make it a conspiracy theory like, oh, it had to be staged. I think that the left has to take that position where they're like, oh, it was staged because they totally lose in this. In the event that it really happened that way, Trump looks like such a hero for surviving an assassination attempt and then getting back up and posing triumphantly for the photos or whatever. Like, the left loses so big that they have to come back with like, oh, this was staged or whatever. And I would say that that is the work of people who have no experience with conspiracy theory, and they're bringing up examples of like somebody in the crowd was videoing the event after the fact, whatever. Someone in the crowd looked weird, like they must have been in on it. And it's not like that, because just because somebody looks weird in a crowd doesn't mean it's a conspiracy theory. I mean, they're grasping at whatever to try to say that it's a conspiracy because they want to be on the side of conspiracy now all of a sudden, when they haven't been putting in the work. Being a conspiracy theorist on their own enough, or just every day or whatever. I say propose your own conspiracy theories in order to be a conspiracy theorist. And the thing about conspiracy theories is that there are better ones than others, but people that don't like conspiracy theorists put them all into one big group, all into one conspiracy, where they're like, oh, those conspiracy theorists are all breathing together as one. They are the conspiracy. And that is a lot of the problem with it. That's a lot of the stigma, is that people fail to look at conspiracy theory with intelligence and see that there are different levels to it. There are comparable, relative conspiracies, some that are better than others. To say that the Trump event was staged is not a good conspiracy, it's low level, but if you're not somebody who is a conspirator, who's into conspiracy theory, we're not gonna believe you at the point that you try to propose your own suspicions or whatever. And so, in that regard, it's important to go into the world of conspiracy so that you can pretend things in whatever way that you want to. You can theorize, like gain some authority theorizing or making up things, so that you can throw out whatever suspicion or whatever. But obviously, do it in a way that people can make you accountable to whatever conspiracy theory that you're putting out. There are conspiracies that are better than others, like Flat Earth sucks because I think that it's an anti-conspiracy theory, because the reason for that is that it's more contained within the earth. I feel like the place of conspiracy theory is to escape into the beyond, or say that there's something more to the earth than what we see. There's something more to what's going on in the world than what's in front of our vision, and ultimately that it's infinite, that it goes, like, I feel like that's what conspiracy theory is for. That's the way that I like to interpret it, or just things in general, that there is this great mystery that that surrounds us, where it's like it keeps going and going. It's not limited. There's unlimited things to talk about. The mystery doesn't end. There's really just, and it has something to do with putting words to territories that we haven't yet defined. Defining territory more efficiently and more directly, more discernibly, in a more discerning way. We, like, in the same way that you look at the electromagnetic spectrum and we define a bandwidth like infrared waves, we define that bandwidth at some point in human history as we get more intelligent. And if we wanted to be even more intelligent, we would define within the infrared spectrum the same way that we have defined within the visible spectrum, different spectrums, different colors. We're intelligent when it comes to colors. That's because that's a visible spectrum. That's what's right in front of our eyes. Conspiracy theory wishes to define territories at a more specific and more intelligent level for the things that are beyond our vision. Really, I would say proposes that there are endless words that we can put to endless, currently undefined spaces. Really, like the world in comparison to all of outer space is a representation of this, that we have defined so little of what's around us. But as we get more intelligent, we come to define more planets. But even like we can give a name to a planet that's a billion light years away, and that is what I'm talking about, where we arrive at a more intelligent definition. We're like, oh, we're defining something that was undefined before, that's out of our field of vision. But even more intelligent than that would be going there so that we could come up with a name that's accurate. This is like Earth is the one that we most accurately define because that's the one we have the most experience and knowledge of. And Earth is a word for dirt. Or in other words, we're able to come up with an accurate name for what the Earth is because we know, we've been to that planet and that's something that we see. We can be more accurate the more that we are able to see, the more that we allow ourselves to see from the world of what's currently the unseen. But what I'm saying is that a flat Earth is not a good conspiracy theory. It goes in the wrong direction. It doesn't go towards the great unknown or the great mystery to define something that is not defined. What it actually does is it goes within itself, does the flat Earth. It's a conspiracy theory for people that don't want to go towards things being more infinite. They want to go towards zero, saying that there is no outer space, that it is actually more limited than what we know it to be. That's what flat earthers want to do. They want to go in the opposite direction, I would say. And for that reason, I would say it's like an anti-conspiracy theory, and it goes in the wrong direction. It's not a conspiracy theory that I prefer. I mean, that's just not something I like. I don't like that the idea that things would be more limited, because it's just subscribing to the idea that we know a lot less. I mean, the world is limited. It's a lot less than what the powers that be say that it is. But I'm talking about words, and that's what this podcast is why is it relevant or valuable? It's because I'm doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, not in the exact same way. I'm doing it differently, but the reason that it's the same as anyone else's, like a YouTube channel or whatever, is that I'm part of the big argument, I'm part of the big competition to use words that are new or the most relevant, or lay claim to words that are new coming down the pipeline. Like, I'm just trying to fight to lay claim to a word that I think will be relevant or whatever, and that's, so I title every episode a different word, and that word is something that I talked about during the episode, but it's the same as everybody competing on Twitter or whatever. Like, not the same on all social media platforms. If it's Instagram, obviously you compete with photos, and so I am not into that myself, competing with photos. People compete to put out a photo that's more beautiful than your, I mean, you could say competitors, your family and friends, but the cool way of looking at it is that you're not competing with your family and friends, obviously. People aren't going to put it in those terms. Yeah, I feel like people don't put it in that term, really, that it's a competition. I mean, people sort of allude to it. People allude to that, you're cropping out all the sadness a lot of the time to put out the best photo of yourself. We already know that is true. Because it can make you depressed to look at everybody's photos, since they're only showing you the happy moments of their life. But that it's a competition the same way that Twitter plays out, where Twitter is just a writing contest for people coming up with words that they think are better than somebody else's words. And so it's based on, my YouTube channel is based on my opinions of what words are the best. You compete with different content, original. And so obviously whatever my thing is, it's like a unique position, but mine is sort of based on, it's all just, everybody is just, you have to use words to argue, words to get where you're going and to define your position, whatever. I'm just trying to find the words that are new, like, or exploit territory. Not that they're brand new words, like, oh, a new word that was invented. You could do that with slang. And the word can be completely new, and so I will seek to do that as well. But it's just like the way that people exploit the territory of a word that they previously were not seeing how capable the word was. Like, people are often ignoring the full value of words or what the utility of a word is. Let me bring up an example. Gaslighting versus spotlighting. And so a new word that I want to present to you, or I mean just a word that people aren't utilizing the full territory of, is spotlight. In a similar way to a couple years ago, gaslight became this phenomenon of a word. And so it exploded. But there's a lot of misunderstanding of the word gaslight. It's not the easiest concept to understand. And so people are still using it quite a lot now as they try to figure out, oh, what is the full ability of this word, because it has a lot of utility. But gaslight comes from the movie Gaslight, which is a movie from the 30s. And basically, the main character gets gaslit in that movie by the antagonist. These two people live together, from what I remember. These two people live in the same house, but he has a secret where he goes up into the attic to do some business, and every time he goes up into the attic, he turns the lights on up there. But when he turns the lights on, the house is wired in such a way that the gas lights on the lower level, where the protagonist is, the main character, female, the gas lights dim every time that the antagonist goes up to the attic. And she's like, hey, and she tells the guy that's keeping the secret that's going up into the attic, she's like, the gas light keeps dimming or whatever. And he says, no, that's not happening. Basically lying to her to keep his secret, and essentially manipulating her to think that she isn't seeing what she's seeing, and totally confusing her, gaslighting her, making her lose sense of her sanity a little bit, because he keeps lying in the same way. And so gaslighting is actually a term for when the gaslight is getting dim, not when it is getting lit up. And so that is the thing. That's why I brought up the movie. That's the thing I want to communicate about it, is that gaslighting is when the light is made dim, not when it is made brighter. And so that is, and then I want to contrast that with a new word I want to bring into the spotlight, which is the word spotlight. And spotlight is something like the opposite of gaslighting in that respect, once you realize that gaslighting is a term for, I mean, at least it goes along with, the term originates from the movie, and the movie lays out the rules of gaslighting. And the rules are that, like, when the gaslight is dim, that's when you're getting gaslit. Like, that's what he's manipulating her with. And I would say that if it was the other way around, this term doesn't work at all, because the light getting dim goes right along with the idea that's being described. Because gaslighting is a containing of another person or another idea or whatever. Like, if you're getting gaslit, you're getting condescended to, you're getting controlled by somebody else, you're getting contained. And the light is getting made dim for you, in the same way that you get contained or whatever, that the darkness closes in at the point you're contained, not when it's made more open. That's the light getting dimmed. But what I'm saying is, like, you spotlight somebody, that's like the opposite of gaslighting them, because you are making it so that they are made to be visible where they wouldn't have been made visible before. But like, a spotlight is the shedding of the light onto a person so that they can speak their whatever, and openly say whatever it is so that they are exhausting their sanity, sharing what they think makes them sane or whatever. If somebody is given the spotlight, then they are allowing all of the stories out that they want to share, whatever, rather than having to contain those stories, or rather than being told that those stories are wrong or that you're a liar. So there's a line between. What's interesting to me is like the line between spotlighting and gaslighting is that opposing. Like gaslighting is being sucked into a closed system. Spotlighting is you are made to be open all of a sudden. And so if you spotlight somebody, in some cases that wouldn't even be good because not everybody wants the spotlight. So in some cases, it's just like you could spotlight somebody in a negative way, the same way you gaslight somebody in a negative way. But what I believe is that it's just a lot easier as the subject to be gaslit than it is to be spotlit. Because to be gaslit, you don't have to take any responsibility for what you're saying. Like, it might be a choice, it might be a good thing for you to go into a gaslit environment if you feel like you don't want the spotlight, if you don't want light shed on you. It's just easier to be gaslit because then you don't have to go out and say whatever it is you think you have to say, and then you don't have to risk finding out whether or not that makes you crazy, because you're already crazy for saying it according to the gaslit universe. But it's more difficult to be spotlit by somebody just as the subject, because being spotlit implies gaining more and more of the spotlight. The more spotlit that you are is the more difficult it becomes. The more gaslit you are is the easier it becomes for you, because you don't have to do anything if you're totally the subject. If you're totally outside of subjection, outside of condescension, I guess that is kind of like being that's like the more spotlight that there is, the more that you are the world performer, like a world star, like Donald Trump or whatever. The more that you are taking blame and taking responsibility is the more that you're in the spotlight. It's just so much harder for you as the person to allow yourself to be spotlit, to go into public, make appearances, have to talk with people, have to be a person all the time. If you want to do that all the time, it's just harder and harder. It's harder to make appearances than it is to stay at home, is what I'm saying. It is easier to be gaslit. I'm hyped up on this bang that I'm drinking. It's making me feel a little bit spastic, but I should really just roll with that feeling. It's always the containment, you know. It's always the containment, and then if I allow the bang or whatever drug or something that I would be under the influence of to take me beyond it, sometimes I can break through that wall, and then just really be sharing my thoughts free of charge, free of restriction, free of containment from other people, free of containment from other people's stories. And this is what I'm talking about, is the containment that you experience from other people and their stories. Like when you get gaslit, if you're subject, you'll become subject to somebody else's story in that regard. The more spotlit that you are, the more that you are the story, or you're making your own story, you make yourself free of containment of people's stories, the more that you go into the spotlight. But it's just hard to do that, hard to go out and make appearances all the time or whatever. Have enough fuel within yourself to propel yourself in and of yourself to continue going into the spotlight. It's more difficult to do that, but I'm just talking about like you can get contained. America, I would say in my experience, what I experience a lot is that this nation seems kind of bent on dominance, or at least people around me, like the family unit, the parents really got to be dominant over the kids. But like, I feel like people are often trying to be dominant to me. I'd say that religions are more dominant. They need a dominant structure, or they really like to play into there's got to be an alpha male kind of game. But religions like Christianity, for example, their alpha male is Jesus, and they want to make it that there's like one alpha male and then everybody is below them. Like, I would argue that religions are socialist like that, where everybody is expected to act the same and they don't encourage individuality, but it's kind of a lack of intelligence to not fill out the hierarchy within a religion more definitively, to not define the hierarchy, come up with more roles. Yeah, like they come up with roles. I just feel like, but it's the same as a socialist structure is what happens within religion, I believe. It's more of a tyrant to an entire populace kind of relationship, where all of the lower people, same as pastor to church, they'll play it out at that level as like a microcosm of what Jesus is for the entire church. But like the pastor is not to be questioned and doesn't let the congregation in on the sermon. The pastor just condescends the sermon to the congregation, because it's kind of like a tyrant versus everybody in the congregation kind of relationship. And religions in general, I feel like there's a lot of this dominance that they want to play out, where it's like there can't be a number of dominant figures, there can't be a number of alphas in a group. There's supposed to be the one or whatever, as far as they interpret it. And it's kind of like stories. They want to simplify the story. They want the story to be straight. What people want to do is to make it easy on themselves, and I would say is kind of like being gaslit or something, is just to be contained by the story. This is what everybody does. Everybody wants a story. I would say that I would say like the Bible has more influence than people give it credit for. We kind of live in a world that's very influenced by the Bible. As part of this is that everybody has to make their own narrative. So, and that's always what I'm talking about, is just like narratives. And then I take the difficult position of being like, I do my own narratives or whatever, and then I'm like, I'm not contained by a story ultimately, because I think that there should be a lot of people that are allowed to be dominant or whatever. I don't feel like being contained by, I mean, just like getting married. A lot of people get married because to get their story straight. So you have that story. And that's what you need to do in this world to get by. You gotta have a story. And it helps to have that story straight, so you can just like prove that to people, prove that you're, for some reason that's what people hold you to a lot. Like they're not gonna trust you or believe you unless you have to plug yourself into a system that is already proven itself to be very relevant, like the marriage system, in that way. So a lot of people get married and then they're like, oh, that's my story, that's where you get contained. And unfortunately for me, I haven't gotten married yet, you know? I gotta get married, so once I get married, I mean, you don't have to make your marriage your entire story, obviously. Like, that's an exaggeration, but I'm saying it helps you get your story straight. It's just like, it's a lot gayer to not have your story straight, to not be contained by narratives like be free, whatever. Say that you're making your own narrative. People are less willing. It's just if they can't tie it to something consistent, And kind of what I'm out here saying is like, obviously I'm a person walking around in the world, even if I'm not married or I'm not tied to enough systems that would prove that I'm a person, prove that I'm relevant. Relevance is kind of a lie because everybody is already relevant, actually. Even if you say something that's outdated or old school, it's not like it wasn't said, it's in this year. It's kind of a lie, the relevance. So really you can't look at what I do and say it doesn't exist or whatever. Technically speaking, whatever. It's not like, it's not irrelevant just because you don't like the style of it, just because it's not tied to enough systems that you would have wanted. And so, it is like relevance is a lie like that. It's got to be more, you can walk around and do whatever anybody's saying, anything is pretty relevant, it's fairly relevant. But so what is the value of like an individualized hustle? I think that it should have more value. Probably the banking system screws with that. The way that banking is so corporatized, it's like we got to do something about banks being overly relevant. Every skyline, they have banks. Like a bank is able to make a tall building, not very much. It's sad the lack of like really privatized enterprises that are able to make skyscrapers. It's like skyscrapers are always like an electrical company that's something that is already going to exist, like a bank. Skyscrapers are a lot of banks. That's too bad. Banks have too much power. What we need is a decentralization of banks. We need a decentralization of people's hustles so that it's individualized hustle is more promoted, but I'm promoting like the individualized currency, which maybe we will arrive at one day. Who knows? I don't really know. I don't know if for sure that we will get there. But good on Trump that he's able to make it to that world performer level. I don't know, I feel like I'm an obvious enough person. I would be like, oh, okay, I'll vote for Trump now that he got shot or whatever. It would really bother me if he got shot in the ear at this point and he's still lost. I would really just think that it was fixed. I feel like if Trump loses, I'm just gonna think that it's fixed. So maybe I'll vote for him just so that I don't have to think that. I was gonna vote for RFK Jr., but I'm just gonna be a sheep and fall into the two-party system, or I'm not gonna vote at all. It's whatever. I don't have to vote. Whatever. You can't control me. Here I go. But I'm probably gonna vote for somebody for whom my vote will matter. Like showing up at the polls and writing in like Ron Paul when he's not even running, whatever. That doesn't seem. That's just not worth my time. I will have to vote for somebody for whom it is good to vote for them. And so the within of a religion is like a socialist, it's socialist like that, where there's a tyrant and then the rest of the people. They need to allow more capitalism, should be more capitalist. But I want to get beyond the scope of the stories of people. I just, I wonder about people's talent and like what they're able to do as long as they aren't contained by a story, or like as long as they're not contained by the people around them. Because there's a lot of pressure to just fall into somebody else's story rather than create your own. Pressure to be gaslit. It's a lot easier to be gaslit than it is to be spotlit. There's just like, what I wonder is how talented that people are if they never get gaslit. Where it's like, that's how big a term that I think that gaslit is. It kind of just describes falling into a closed system of any kind. I mean, according to the movie, any time that you are made to question your own sanity, or like the energy that comes from within yourself, that would propel you to go and tell people more that you have something to say or whatever. Like, you'll be prevented from saying what you have to say if you get convinced that you should really be questioning your sanity all the time. It's like, people need to be more sane. They need to be more like behind their sanity. It's easy to be like, I'm crazy, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a lot easier to do that. And what I want to know is if we lived in a world where people weren't like, oh yeah, who knows what I know? I'm just a fool. If we lived in a world where everybody was like, no, I do know what I know, where people were not getting gaslit, I want to know what that means for people's talent level. Because I'm tending to think that you're talented just as long as you don't get contained by anything. Like, it doesn't even matter that you would be exceptionally talented. It's just like a game of don't fall into other people's stories. Like, if it was all your own narrative, I think if people were going off of that more, I think you'd find out that like a lot of people are talented. Because like the talent just has to do with like coming up with a new way to say it, or being more continuous in your actions. And the world is always kind of working to draw out more continuity from people, I would say, as far as the development of the human race is concerned, as far as improvement of the human race is concerned, is like, I think that everybody is continuous. They just don't. Talent is kind of just how much you're able to give credit to your ability to be continuous, your ability to not get stuck on something or whatever, not get stuck on judgments, and so I just think that everybody would be. It's like everybody will have the ability to do a lot of things, but it's just like you could always say new things for the situation if you allowed yourself to not be contained by stories or whatever. I would say that it's it's the influence of religions that are very often owe their basis to a book or whatever, like Islam or Christianity. A lot of them will owe their basis to a book and say that it's this narrative of this book that controls us, whatever. That's how it should play out. So a lot of people that are part of the, like, either Islam or Christianity are part of a big collective that is contained by, they're immediately containing themselves to that narrative. Like talent is just kind of like saying new things at new times. So there's this comedian whose name is Sam Talent, but he's he's pretty big right now. And I tend to think that your last name does play a role in what you end up doing in life. if you decide to give credit to your life on Earth rather than saying that all of your time on Earth is being devoted to some heaven that is beyond the Earth that you're living in. If you're just like, the Earth I'm living in is heaven and hell, that's as far as it gets, then you're a character you're a character on the world stage, and so you kind of have to play as your name. Like, I'd say that it seems like comedians, more than other people, you might be a comedian if you think you start like playing into your last name, because it's kind of like a joke that people aren't expected to like live up to their name, whatever their last name is or whatever. But I see a number of comedians that it's like, oh, the thing that you are playing out or your comedic style is the same as your last name. That's what Sam Talent does. But I would say Sam Talent is just more about the talent than other comedians, because he's always keeping it fresh. He's always saying funny things, but he also has he has a number of different talents. Like he plays the drums or whatever, and then what do you know, he's looking for whatever opportunity to showcase different things that he's able to do, because that's part of his style. Like that doesn't surprise me at all. Him getting to where he is, I think has to do with his last name being Talent, personally. Not that is everything. It's just that identities should be more decentralized. You're not expected to live the entire time under one name and one identity. And so I have a lot of ridiculous ideas that would be considered very alternative. And it has to do with the narrative within myself that I'm holding to say that, oh, it does not make me crazy to say that. I'm outside of the narratives. I defeated them, but I didn't defeat them necessarily because I'm not yet that successful at making money doing what I'm doing. And so, does that mean I defeated the narratives? No, it's just like when you make money doing something, then you get to tell the haters off a lot more easily. And so I'm putting that pressure on myself. I do not accept. I need to get more ambitious, but I would say that I need to get more ambitious. I need to promote myself more. I need to make more appearances. Because I should do more. I need to do more stand-up and be more in the spotlight or whatever. This is something I have been working on because I would say that I grew up very, very Christian for a number of years, like devoutly, very devoted to Christianity. That was the only reality I knew until I was 25. And so I'm still running off of Christian programming that I would describe as, like I'm running off of other people's programming and other people's stories still. And that programming makes me want to not be ambitious, or like I don't have to achieve something on the earth. And so I'm trying to break from my addiction of being alone that I used to have when I was in the church, and be more out and out about it. But the more important point, I'm telling about myself, I guess. Is that better that I would say that about myself, or that I share things that are outside of myself? I guess both are good. I would hate to embarrass myself by sharing personal stories. Just kidding, I do not. That's why I shared the personal story. The personal story, the Christianity, oh, how embarrassing. I feel like, it's some people might think that what I'm trying to do is a little culty and that, and it would come across that way because I would say there's a lot of Christianity or subscribing to closed systems that I'm still trying to get out of my system, where a cult is a closed system, but like more culty is more gaslit, allowing yourself to be contained by, like more culty is more gaslit. And it's not really like that. Because the reason I'm not like a pastor of a church is because it's open to the congregation to say whatever. My sermon is a peer-to-peer, it's supposed to be peer-to-peer, where it's available to everybody so that anybody can exchange with it or whatever and call it out. Or so in that regard, I really aim to do the opposite of a cult. And so that is why it is important to not be embarrassed about personal things or whatever, like go the opposite way of it being a secret. Go the opposite way of it being secretive. Looks like we have about 5 minutes left. And next week, I hope to have a guest, and that should be good. Shout out to the Crescent Lounge for allowing me to do my podcast here. Follow me on Twitter at Steele Connor. I should do that at the front of it, but whatever. At Steele Connor, StealConner. What I was getting into was, or I was saying that you make money as long as it's backed by money. And especially in a conservative climate, like the conservative climate that we're in right now, people make it becomes more of a plutocracy, whereas anybody with money are the only people that we listen to. But it's like the thing is that Bill Gates can make a bunch of money and still be an idiot for the things that he claims. Like, he made a bunch of money in this one area, and people think that therefore he is to be listened to when he starts claiming that he has medical authority. And these are some of the dangers of authoritarianism or plutocracy, a world where we say just the people who have money are our leaders. This is the dangers of an authoritarian system, is that when things get all authoritarian, then, like, seriously, you got to watch out for authorities and, especially their leadership and leadership. The authoritarian world is Bill Gates is like, you should listen to me. I have authority in the area of vaccination, and then he spreads his shitty vaccine for everybody. Because the world is like, well, I guess. I mean, when people criticize Bill Gates, you can't even, the dissenters, the conspiracy theorists, nobody listens to them when they're like, don't take the vaccine because Bill Gates is evil. People don't listen to them because the criticism doesn't reach Bill Gates because he has that much money, ultimately. And so it's part of like a conservative controlled environment where when things get more conservative, it's just anybody who has money gets to say, are the people that we listen to. And so it helps because conservatives like money more than liberals. Conservatives keep their money, they retain it, they like to conserve it. Liberals are liberal with their money and they just share it away. Conservatives love money. They love to store it up. They love to keep it around and not use it. And so they're more, they make it plutocratic. They make it that we listen to the people who have money. And so it helps to dispel the conservative haters, to just, as long as you're making money doing the thing. And so then you won't fall prey to their narratives once you make money. Because, Christians do own 55% of the world's wealth, and you can look that up. That's and the next closest organized religion that owns a percentage of the world's wealth is Islam at something like 5%. And so that is a huge disparity, but I don't really know what the reason for that is. All that I can describe is that a lot of them are conservatives, and so they're just kind of people that house their money over time. They don't give it away. I don't really know. But Bill Gates, the problem is people don't want to, people are like, oh, he made so much money, billions and billions of dollars, of course he's not a fraud, even though he's completely a fraud when it comes to his claims over medical authority, because he's not a doctor, but he's like, oh, I have billions and billions of dollars. Therefore, as long as I set up some institutes to vaccinate people in Africa, that makes me a vaccinator and like a doctor or whatever, and the media that he's bought out will also promote that he's that for him because he has so much money to do that. It's just that fraudulence is more relative than people give it credit for. It's not, Bill Gates isn't a fraud because he did seriously make a bunch of money doing something he was good at, but he's like relatively a fraud because he's completely won in this other area. In the same regard, you can't just look at people who don't have a lot of money and say they are completely a fraud, because it's ultimately not money that decides, shouldn't be money that decides whether or not somebody has something to say. Not that I am poor, I'm not poor. I do have money and I'm a conservative. I have money because I have collected some, not that I have a lot, not that I have a ton, but anyway, I just, let me give you an exact dollar amount of the money I have in all of the different places I have it. I mean, I have cryptocurrency money, I have whatever it is. Because I'm not a frivolous spender, like I'm a conservative. And people are relatively a conservative or a liberal. I mean, I'm more a centrist, but it's just that people should define it. People should define it more along the lines of like, if you conserve things a lot, like I need to accelerate beyond my conservatism. I need to be less of one because conservatism just permeates too many areas of my life. Like, I don't want to drink a whole glass of Coke. Like, I won't fill it up all the way because I'm like, oh, we want to have some for later. Whatever, like I'm always checking, and I'm doing that with lots of things. Like I never get full, I never overeat, I never over whatever because I'm like conserving. And so in that regard, I need to be more like pedal to the metal about things, be more liberal. And it's like be more generous with your personality as well. I need to not be conservative over my personhood. I need to be a better person. A good person is somebody who is very outgoing. It is not just somebody who follows a bunch of laws and rules, because a person is somebody who acts on a stage. A person is like an actor. And that's, if you look at the etymology, that's what it is a word for somebody wearing a mask. And so a good person is somebody who works their personhood into the public places that they're in, expresses their personality. I'm a good person already. I'm not like, oh, I need to be better in all these areas. Like, oh, I'm already doing it. But improvement is whatever. You just like allow things into your life. And that has to do with like allowing yourself to say that it is sane, the random thought that I had. The thought that I had, you should allow, people need to be more lucid. People need to be more sane. They need, like take things seriously. People need to take themselves seriously, maybe. This is what I am advocating for. Maybe within yourself, but like outwardly, no. Outwardly, you definitely don't. You want to joke about yourself a lot. It's complicated, but like people should, if they allow the original thought, if they allow them to say, you know, that thing I was thinking is sane and it is rational, it came from somewhere, then you will be more liberal with your personality, like allowing the thing you said to be shared. Maybe I'm a liberal in that way. I think you should share the thing. You should share what you have. So, in conclusion, don't get gaslit. Be spotlit. Get your story. Does your story have to be straight? I guess I'm advocating for it doesn't have to be necessarily. That's the thing, is like, oh, you gotta have your story straight, you gotta present a consistent thing to people. And maybe that's not necessarily being a good person. Like, being a consistent thing will prevent you, being the same thing over and over again will prevent you from being very outgoing and being an adaptive person who changes a lot with the environment. Like, change with the environment. That involves being in the spotlight. Like, it's darker to reserve your personhood for a time gone by, where it's like, oh, it started back, I've been doing this, I've been the same person for 10 years, or I've had these 15 phrases to say, or this general vocabulary for 20 years in a row. If you're like, oh, I'm always the person that says these same things, it's just easier to do that. Nothing wrong with it. Good on you for whatever it is. I just happen to advocate for being more open and changing with the environment, rather than making it that you are the same person over and over for too long or whatever. And so if you listen to all of that, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will be coming back to you again with more episodes in the future. Thank you very much. Goodbye.